Hi everyone, it's the Professor here again. I've got a doozy for you today. Use Excel? Part of your business? Struggle with working out formulas, working out functions, creating pivot tables? I've got the answer for you. Stick with it. Here we go. Okay, tip number one, just finding simple formula. So here we are, have some basic data for the Professor Redbubble sales in 2024. You can see on the left-hand side all of the different items that are available, the price, and then the sales for July and August. So first thing we want to do, let's add up all the sales of items for each of the months. How can we do that? Let's ask ChatGPT. Okay, so I've put in a prompt in Excel. Write me a formula to add up the sales in column C from row 5 to row 12. Let's see what we get. And it gives me a sum function. This is not rocket science, but let's just copy that code, pop it into the right box, and there we go. It's given me, and it's added up that to 19. And of course, you can drag this across and it will add up the ones in August as well. Simple, but shows you how to get going with ChatGPT. Let's do something else. Okay, so now we want to find out how much we've actually made in the year to date on each of the items. So I've created a new prompt. Now create me a formula that adds up the numbers in column C and D and then multiplies that results by the number in column B and returns the number in pounds. See what we get. See what it produces. Can create a formula that adds it up, and it's given me a code. Let's copy that code, pop it in. $137. Done it, and it's given me it in pounds. And you can apply this across multiple rows by just copying it down. There we go. Cool. Okay, let's try something a bit more complex. So we have our table, and what I've told it is in Excel, I have a table that has an item in the item in column A. I have the price in column B, and the sales in July and August in column C and D. Write me a formula that returns the most valuable product for July. Let's see what we get. So here we go. It says to find the most valuable product for July, we've got to calculate the total revenue for each product and determine which product has the highest revenue. So calculate the revenue for each product, go to column E and put B5 times C5, and then to find the product with the maximum revenue, we need to use index and match functions. So index and match, and the formula tells you what the formula does, and it tells you how to implement each of these steps. So let's have a look at how we do that. Okay, so I'll copy this in. Now I was going to put it into E, but we're going to F because we've already done a total in that, and I didn't tell it that. So let's paste it in there, and it gives me 0. Now, is that right? Let's just have a quick look. Yes, it is right. It is right because there was no sale, so that would return 0, which is fair enough. So these are the July sales. There we go, for everybody. And then I need to do this index, match, etc. formula. So I will copy that code and place that in here. See if it tells me which. So we've got this quite complex one. It says not available. So I need to change it to F. There we go. So max. See what we get. It says t-shirt. So in July, the t-shirt was the most valuable product. So let's see if that is right. And indeed, it made £108. Now, I don't know about you, that would have taken me quite a long time to work out the right formula to get that answer. And there, ChatGPT walked me through it, explained what the formula was, and has helped me get the right formula. Using ChatGPT for Excel really increases your productivity. I certainly wouldn't have been able to do it without that. Okay, on to the next tip. Okay, so the next thing you can do is get ChatGPT to explain complex formula that you find in spreadsheets, especially if somebody else has created it, explain it to you. So let's have a look at this simple spreadsheet again. So I have moved everything over. So we now know that in July, the t-shirts were the best seller, and in August, the hoodies were the best seller. And I have this complex piece of formula here. Let's just copy that and ask ChatGPT, please explain this. Paste it in. Yeah, and there we go. Certainly, let's break down the formula. The purpose of the formula is designed to find and return the item or product name in column A that corresponds to the highest value in column G. So max G to G12. Function max returns the highest value in a specific range. So it looks at column G, which is where I've totaled up all of the sales, the value of those sales. And then it identifies the one that is the highest. So in this case, it is this, it's hoodies. And then it matches that within the range of values of the actual items. So these items here. So it says, okay, this number here is the biggest. So I'm having to, this number is the biggest, and it matches it against this number, this word here, this item, and then it returns that item. Oh, I've just messed it up. Delete that. See if I can go drag that across. Now, you see, as it's given me the wrong thing again, because obviously what I have to do is change this to A. Now, I could put the old dollar signs in to make sure it worked. But there you go. And it gives me the hoodie. And so what ChatGPT has done is explained what that formula is and allows you to return the product name. It gives you a summary at the end. Really, really helpful if you're dealing with a spreadsheet, you've been sent a spreadsheet, you don't quite understand what the function is that somebody's put in. Okay, so here's a problem that comes up quite regularly. You've got a list of email addresses. These are all people that have bought from the Professor's Redbubble shop. And what I want to do is to be able to address them by their first and their last name. So I've got their email addresses. So I want to separate the first name from the last name within this email address. Let's see if I can get Excel to write me a function to do that very thing. Okay, so I have a list of emails in column A, starting at row 2. Could you create a function that separates out the first and the last names? Let's see what we get. So I'm asking it to do two things at once. So certainly below is a simple Excel formula that can be used to separate the first names from an email address. Assumes that the email addresses follow a standard format like first name dot last name. And here's the formula in column B, starting from row 2. So let's copy that, pop it into where it says first name, paste, and it's picked out John. And let's copy row 2 and put this in here, John Smith. And then you should be able to just fill those all in. Don't want to miss out Angelina. Okay, fantastic. Done that. Let's see if we can do some more. Okay, so as we saw, that depending on how the email's put together, you might get a response that's not quite right. So what I'm going to ask it to do now is, okay, thank you. Now ensure the word returned always starts with a capital letter. Let's see what we get. So it can use something called a proper function. Never heard of that. So extract the first name and capitalize it. So I'm going to copy that code and pop it in here this time. Let's see what that does. And it has capitalized it. And all the others were okay. And then the second copy code, and I'm going to pop that one in here. And it has indeed capitalized all of those names. I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know that was possible, but ChatGPT has opened it up for us. Next thing I'm going to try and do is something a little bit difficult in Excel, and that's to do a unique count of things. So you can see behind me, I've got a list of goods from the Professor shop. Just move me across, and you can see that we've got hoodies, hats, t-shirt, running shirt, sticker. So there are some duplicates in here, running shirts there twice. So what I want to do is to try and find a unique count. And I don't know what the formula is for that. So let's see if ChatGPT can help us. Okay, so I've written a prompt. I have a list of products in column A. Can you give me the Excel formula to do a unique count of the items? Let's see what we get. So you can use count if function or sum product function is how to use it. The sum product 1, count if A2 to whatever, A1000. Okay, let's see if that works. Have a look at a unique count, paste. So it's given me a div O problem. So I guess that's probably because we've got this A1000 and it needs to be A13. And it's missing out the first one. So let's make it A1 to A13. Of course, if I'd have put the range in ChatGPT, I expect it would have given me the correct formula. But let's see what that gives us. 8. So have we got, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the same. Yeah, it's given me a unique count. Cool. So now we've seen the very basic to the more sort of advanced user stuff with the different prompts and things that you can create. And now we are going proper beast mode with what ChatGPT can do. So if you've learned something already, please subscribe, please like, that'd be really great. And if you've got any comments or you want me to cover anything else in future videos, please put them in the comments below. That would be absolutely great. But now prepare yourself, because this is going to blow your mind. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do was find some public data that was probably the most complicated I could think of. So I'm at the kef.ac.uk website /dashboard. This is where the knowledge exchange framework data sits, and you can interrogate the data. Now, if you go down to the bottom of the file of the page, you can download either a summary of the data in Excel format or a more detailed of the data, a more detailed version of the data in an Excel format. And I'm going to do that. So I get the file. There it is. I'm going to open the file. And there it is. That's my old Excel file. Don't need that. Just get rid of that. Okay, so here we have a file of really complex data. So as you can see, you've got a whole load of provider names with different data input. So 2019, 2021, 2020, not in date order. You've got a whole series of perspectives and metrics, and then whole loads of different metric scores going right across. And there is hundreds of lines in in this. Let's have a look how many lines there actually are. Let's go down. There we go. So York St John is the bottom one. So 6,674. Now, trying to get an understanding of this data is going to be pretty difficult. But let's see if ChatGPT can help us, give us some tools. Okay. So over back into ChatGPT, and what we're going to do is go and have a look at a specific GPT that can help us. So if we go explore GPT, I've shown you this before, but if you go down, you've got the featured ones, you've got those that are trending, and you've got those that have been created by ChatGPT. And so this is the ChatGPT team has created it. And there's one here called Data Analyst. Drop any files and you can analyze them and visualize your data. Let's have a try of that. Okay, tells you what it's all about. You start the chat. So now I'm in the Data Analyst. Let's go and get the file, that big KEF data file, and see what we can do with it. Okay, so I downloaded it in this browser. So let's see if it's still there. Let's see if I can just drop it straight in. And there it goes. It's analyzing the data. Okay, so let's see what we can do now it's got this data. So let's ask it. So the first question, how many universities participate in the KEF? So can it do that? Effectively, that unique count of institutions. I'm not told it which columns it's in, which page it's on, whatever. I'm just asking that. It's clearly doing some work up here. Okay, there are 140 universities that participate in the knowledge exchange framework. Okay, so let's name them so that we can see if the data is right. It's a way of doing a check on the data. Here's a list of the universities. There we go. Lots of universities there. All the main ones that you'd expect. Down to 81. Oh, and it's still going. And it starts its numbering again once it gets to 99, which is interesting. Okay. You can check that those are all the universities that are in there. Okay, so I know that in the KEF that there are different groupings of the data. So please set out the different university groupings. See what it says. And here we go. We've got the arts, we've got the cluster, group E, J, M, STEM, V, and X. So those are the university groupings, or as they're called in the data, clusters. So there are a series of clusters. Okay, so now I know that from the data there's a series of perspectives. So I could ask it to list me the different perspectives. It's analyzing the data. Takes a few seconds. Here we go. So there you go. There are 7 perspectives: IP and commercialization, research partnerships, working with business, working with the public and third sector, CPD and grant startups, local growth and regeneration, public and community engagement. Okay. So why don't we say something like, could you rank the top 15 universities by the KEF data? Explain how you do this. So KEF data is absolutely not used for rankings. The nature of the KEF is that it produces you a spider diagram of your particular areas of expertise, and it's not being used for rankings. So it'd be interesting to see whether this can look at the data and come up with a ranking system. So KEF data set, there's a column called metric score, which is often used to assess rank of universities. This score typically reflects the performance in various perspectives. Aggregate scores across perspectives is a way of doing it as well. Any scores that are missing will be excluded. or it could apply an imputation method depending on the completeness of the data. Rank the overall universities is calculated. I'll rank the universities in descending order, highest score first. Finally, I'll select the top 15 universities based on their aggregate scores. So let's have a look at what we've got. Let's expand this table, probably drag that out a bit. So we have number 1, you've got University of Cambridge, University of Bath, Royal Northern College of Music, University of Oxford, Institute of Cancer Research, University College London, King's College London, Birkbeck, University of Bristol, University of Southampton, Coventry University, University of Leeds, University of Surrey, Queen Mary, and Middlesex University. So it's created a rank out of the KEF data. Now, that's very cool. So if we wanted to understand how, let's say, how Coventry could leap over Southampton. So how would you suggest that Coventry leap over Southampton University? So what would Coventry have to do to leap over Southampton? Help Coventry University potentially leap over the University of Southampton in the KEF rankings. You would need to strategically focus on improving performance across the KEF perspectives where Southampton is currently outperforming Coventry. Here are some specific strategies that could be considered. Analyze the performance in weak areas. So looking at metrics like research partnerships, working with business, IP and commercialization. Enhance research partnerships, pursue high value grants. Boost IP and commercialization efforts, more spin-outs, engage more with business, more KTPs, knowledge transfer partnerships, expand public and community engagement, improve our CPD focus. So I think this looks like a pretty general response. So please interrogate the data. Find those areas where Coventry could improve to make the biggest difference to its rank. Spell for toffee. So now I've asked it to go in a bit more detail and look at what one particular piece could do. So it shows me the data, the comparison data. Analysed the KEF data and compared its performance at Coventry University against Southampton across the various perspectives. The results have been presented to you. So we've got all of the data up above. Based on the data, IP and commercialisation, score difference of 264,241. This is the largest gap between Coventry and Southampton. By improving areas like patenting, licensing and spin-out companies, Coventry could make a significant impact on this ranking. Research partnerships, score difference of 0.129. Strengthening in research collaborations, especially with industry, could help narrow this gap. So it's identified the specific gaps that Coventry would need to do to move that one place above in this sort of made up ranking, which doesn't really exist. We've made it up because we've been looking at the data. Okay, so obviously this data has got universities in, etc. I wonder, could we bring in data from outside to compare with this data or to enhance this data? So let's ask it, give me a list of the top universities that work with business in the West Midlands. So it has to go and find out what universities are in the West Midlands and then look at them against this data. Let's see if it produces me a list. Here we go. So we've got Coventry, Harper Adams, Birmingham, and I assume that's the University of Warwick. Have a look at the data. Whittle University College, University College Birmingham, and Newman. So it's able to go into the data and then make a judgment about where that data is. This is clever stuff. Okay. Now, one of the questions that happens with the KEF is, so everyone was put into a specific cluster. and effectively since the KEF has been around, no one has really moved between clusters. And there is some discussion in the sector about whether the clusters are correct. So I wonder what the data tells us about the clusters. So please have a look at the data and the clusters. See if there are any institutions that would sit better in another cluster. See what we get. So I haven't done a lot of these, so you're seeing it with me, but I'm interested in the outcomes. There we go. So it's given me some cluster outliers. Let's see. So I've identified some institutions within STEM that might be outliers. So AECC University College significantly underperforms compared to the average of the cluster. Harper Adams, Hartbury, Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine. Okay, so it's identified some in the STEM cluster that it thinks could move to other clusters. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, look at all the data and make a suggestion about which cluster most appropriately fit for each university, and give me an Excel file with those need to change highlighted green. See what we get. So it's having to look at all of that data, do all of the calculations, and then make a judgment about whether the individual university is in the right cluster, so that it's around universities that are similar to it in terms of its output. So let's have a look at what it says in terms of cluster recommendations for downloading. Okay, so it has given me quite a lot of changes. So it thinks Aston and Bath Spa are fine, but AC University, STEM, Anglia Ruskin, University of Arts, Birkbeck, Brunel, Coventry should actually change based on their. So actually most of them should change. That's interesting, because I think that probably suggests that it's being a bit too precise with its data. Oh, okay. So reduce the sensitivity to make sure that clusters are about the size that they currently are. So to reduce the amount of change, and then give me a list of those you changing cluster. So we've asked it to reduce its sensitivity, to look again, to make sure that whatever clusters it ends up with are about the same size. So it can be few, I guess, bigger or lower. And it's told me there was an issue with the data processing, particularly related to handling missing values. So it's correcting that, still finding an issue, and it's going to correct it again. Still seems to be an issue, handling missing data. It's going to adjust its approach. So this is the third go it's had at asking me, at answering that question. Here we go. Successfully generated a list of universities where a changing cluster is recommended based on a sensitivity adjusted analysis. The recommendation changes have been identified and the details are displayed for your review. So what has it come up with? So it's come up with quite a lot again, including Coventry moving. Now I wonder whether it has, so there's a lot there. There's loads of changes, 112 changes. So I think what I need to do is find out. So I want it to compare the current cluster's size with what you are suggesting changes. So you can see, I mean, what I'm doing is having a conversation with this data. I'm asking for analysis. I'm asking to have a think. Okay, so it's suggesting that cluster E goes from 33 to 4. Cluster M goes from 18 to 20. Arts goes from 26 to 9. J goes from 14 to 69. That feels like a complete rebuilding of the data. So that's not going to work. Okay. You cannot change the size of the clusters, but are there still some institutions? Clusters stay the same size, and is there a better, so you can swap, yes, identify potential movers, swap between clusters, so it has to be one in, one out, reevaluation and fit, so it's analyzing, and it gives me some potential swap changes. And let's see, I expect this to be a small list. It's still quite a big list. It's still suggesting that 49 move. 49 moves based on the data. It's still quite a lot, but keeping the clusters exactly the same. Because it's given me original University 1 suggestion. All right, so it's actually given me the moves. So University of Plymouth from Arts to M, and Falmouth from M to Arts. Birkbeck from X to V, Imperial College from V to X, Coventry from E to V, University of Warwick, I assume that is, let's have a look, from V to E. How interesting. This is really clever. Now, let's see if we can get some pictures out of it. So I've been trying for a little while to get it to produce a spider diagram for 2022, 2023. But actually the data is only for 2019, 2020 and 2021 because of the nature of the data. So I am going to see, please, a spider diagram on the perspective quintile number for Coventry University for 2021. Let's hope it works this time. So what it did was it went through, and I kept asking for 2023, and it kept giving me zeros. And then it looked at the data. As you can see up here, it says, it appears that we're extracting zeros, which must not be right. So let me have a look again. And it hasn't returned the correct results. This is likely due to a filtering issue. To fix this, I'll carefully review. Seems like filtering for 2022 isn't returning any data. Let me check for possible issues. And then it seems the data set includes data for the years 2019, 2020 and 2021, but not 2022, which explains why it doesn't work. Fair enough. But let's see if we've finally got. So it seems like there are duplicate perspective labels. Aha! We've finally got something. So let me go, let's have a look and see if it looks the same as the actual one on the KEF website dashboard. Maybe because I've been messing around. Okay, let's have a look, see if it will show me Coventry. And so it gives it in a slightly different, gives it like pieces of pie. Let's see if it's the same as the ChatGPT. We've certainly got one out here, public and community engagement, public and community engagement. Working with business, it doesn't give me that one right at the outside. It gives me a number 4. Quite interesting that it doesn't give me quite the same diagram. Make sure it's the same year. Yeah, KEF 3, which is the latest version. Church partnerships is the lowest one. Then lots of them at this level here. So that's the looking at the diagrams. Okay, enough of the spider diagrams. They're doing my nut in. Okay, don't use the perspective scores. Use the actual data from the tables. See if this produces anything more variable. So your data can change, but your perspective score may not change. Actual metric data rather than the perspective scores. Yeah, we're working with business. So this will be interesting because I think we will see that there'll be large variations between institutions and over the periods of the year. So let's have a look at this one. Certainly there's some change, which is a bit more interesting than okay, so here we see which institution is this. So that's Coventry. So started here, went up, and has come down. And Teesside started here and has steadily gone down. And we've seen some other institutions, so BCU, gone down and then back up again. Really interesting. And you also see some down here that are very, very low in terms of numbers. Comparison between what you got from the Open University Middlesex, all on 0, and Coventry, 0.08. Well, it doesn't seem massive difference, does it? But clearly on this graph, it is very large. And Teesside 0.05. So actually looking at the data, and I guess that's an average. The way the data is worked out is based on the amount of activity done divided by the size of the institution. So that can have an impact as well. So now I have put in, look at the data for cluster C and let me know how far Coventry would be from moving up 1 quintile, or how far away it is from dropping 1 quintile. Not spelt anything right. So it worked out that that Coventry is not in cluster E, in cluster C, it's in cluster E. And then it said, would you like me to proceed? I'd already said I don't want visualization, just a table, please. Sorry, cluster E, my mistake. So I've only got 7, so it's aggregated the data. So CPD and graduate startups. So quintile number 3.5. So interestingly, on the UKRI data, it gives you either 3, 4, whatever. So we would need to increase on that metric by 1.5 to move up to the next quintile, and we'd have to drop by 2.5 to make the lower quintile. IP and commercialization gives me the data. Local growth and regeneration currently at 4. With that, I'd have to go up by 1, down by 3, 5. We can't go up, so it's giving me a 0, but we'd have to drop by 4 to drop down to the next lowest quintile. Sure, that's quite right, is it? Up and down, up and down. Sure, it's giving me quite the data that I wanted. Give me the institutions that are most closely aligned sector tile averages. So those institutions that are closest to the average for every perspective. See what we get. It's the kind of question you could ask, but it would be almost impossible to do. Think of the pivot table or the data analysis you'd have to do in Excel to do that. And remember here, I'm working with an Excel file, but I've not touched Excel at all. All I'm doing is asking ChatGPT to give me the answer to the questions that I wanted. So there we go. Sheffield Hallam are the closest. University of West of England, Bristol, UE, City of London, Nottingham Trent, University of Bradford, University of Huddersfield, Manchester Met, Teesside and Aston. So they're the closest to the average. But what about those the furthest away? Analysing. These are the ones that don't fit the average, that do something very different. And of course, that's what this was about. It's about showing differences in institutions and showing, and institutions are perfectly acceptable for them to focus on particular bits of data. So we've got Middlesex, Birmingham City, just throw this out, Birmingham City, Oxford Brookes, Open University, University of Westminster, Goldsmith College, Kingston, Anglia Ruskin, University of Lincoln and University of Plymouth. Wow. I showed you at the beginning how to use ChatGPT to refine your basic Excel skill set. And then we looked at how you could do more complex things, bringing new functions that I wasn't aware of, and I guess others won't. And it's there all the time, remember. This is not about go away, read a book, watch a video, learn Excel, and then put it into practice and have to remember it all. You've got ChatGPT by your side all the time. And then finally, we looked at how you could use the data analysis tool created by ChatGPT inside ChatGPT to look at very complex data and basically have a conversation with the data to find out what you need. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. So please give me a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the bell, and then you'll be informed of any new videos as they come out. So if you've enjoyed this one on Excel and you're interested in PowerPoint, then look at this video here. Otherwise, I'll see you later. I've been the Professor. Bye-bye for now.